By now, you know there are far fewer cops on the Minneapolis Police Department after hundreds have called it quits these last few years. But there is another staffing crisis going on in this city. And again, for the people who live and work here, the consequences are not hard to find.
I have never seen anything like this.
For more than 30 years, Jim Michaels has worked as a Minnesota labor attorney, negotiating the contracts for public sector unions from firefighters to supervisors, police, and foremen. He sat down recently with Alpha News to raise concerns over what's happening within the ranks of city workers.
Those fundamental core services of public safety, roads, sewer, water, I don't think there's really any debate that we need to have those, and they have to be vital and they have to work.
All told, he represents nearly a third of Minneapolis employees, where he says vacancies are climbing.
The police staffing issues were kind of well known and well documented, but I've seen that spiral to virtually every other department in the city, from public works to human resources to regulatory services. And it's really impairing the ability of the city as an operating enterprise to deliver the goods and services that, you know, the people who live and work and recreate in the city of Minneapolis have come to expect and deserve.
Michael cites a 30% vacancy rate in human resources alone, the department in charge of staffing, along with similar openings among 911 dispatchers and snow removal positions, on top of a police department down more than 30% in less than 3 years. And all in a place with many fresh faces at the top. Michael says at least half the people who head up city departments in Minneapolis are new to their positions.
There's been a failure by leadership to appreciate that the paradigm for the labor market generally in Minnesota and quite frankly across the entire country has changed. There are too many people that are still operating under the presumption that if you don't like it here, that's fine, leave, and we'll find somebody else to do the job. It's become increasingly difficult in a short labor market to find somebody else to do the job, which means you need to be competitive on wages. You have to have a working culture and atmosphere where people want to come to work and do good work every day. And you have to have the support of your bosses and your leaders.
Michaels believes it goes well beyond pay, with personal safety and reputation also playing a role.
Just within public works, there have been more instances in the last 18 months of people who are their job titles public service worker, but these are the folks that maintain the streets, that plow the snow. Those types of people have been attacked, assaulted, shot at. Maybe about 6 months ago, a crew was coming back to the shop near Hiawatha, and they actually stumbled into a shooting where the victim escaped by jumping in the back of their dump truck and riding it. I mean, I've seen more of this in the last 18 months than I think in the 30 years prior to that combined.
So do people notice a difference in city services? Crime Watch told Alpha News they've logged more plowing complaints than in the past, tweeting that just one ticket writer in total was out on traffic control after this January snowfall. And take a look at what this intersection looked like 3 days after a storm, when firefighters forced their way through on Garfield Avenue.
Use discretion before you commit. It's crappy traction out here.
So you notice that as someone who travels around Minneapolis?
Yes, I do that. I notice a lot.
One frequent visitor also points to plow problems.
Forget a whole bunch of the stupid crap and spend money on cops.
But one Minneapolis resident of more than 60 years told us it simply won't turn around until people feel safe again.
When the thugs know you ain't got any cops around to stop them, it's just more crime, you know, it's common sense.
You call this a staffing crisis in Minneapolis.
It's definitely a crisis. The crisis comes not only from the shortage that you also experience, but the burden it puts on the people that are still there. Because now they're being compelled to work inordinate amounts of overtime. The expectation is that they're going to do the work of, 1.5 or 2 people who have left. And that's just not sustainable, because at some point, those people are going to say, why am I doing this when I can go over there, make more money, and have less responsibility?
The city of Minneapolis declined our request for an interview for this story. In a statement to Alpha News, the chief human resource officer said, the city and other municipal governments are facing many hiring challenges, which are exacerbated by the state's low unemployment numbers. In response, we have adjusted pay scales and are monitoring our benefit offerings. We are also adding new leadership at the city. Nikki Odom admits she is one of 30 new managers who have joined the city since the beginning of last year. Michael says there is now an effort to study the scope of the Minneapolis employment problem and figure out what comes next, as he worries that the math may not be in their favor, with thousands of businesses closing their doors.
Between the combination of COVID and civil unrest, that's created decimation of downtown. When you lose that much value out of the downtown, you've now completely upended the whole tax revenue for the city. It is so sad to hear people that I've known and worked with for 30 years, and all they can talk about is how soon they can retire and get the hell out of here. It's discouraging. It really is.
As core services in Minnesota's largest city continue to be called into question.
I've really kind of dedicated my life to doing this work because I believe in it and I really care about, working men and women. It's really hard to see because you kind of wonder, we all want to make the world a better place. And, you kind of wonder, is it a better place right now than it was?